So look for things with above 100,000 views. Like this wouldn't be one. 13,000 views, not really enough. This one's solid one, 487,000 views. Like that's really good. 93 million, obviously very good for the one wheel product. So those are the two tools you want to use. I'm going to share this slide deck at the end of this presentation. I'll give it to Danny. Maybe you can post it in your group. But this is a Google Doc with a lot of really good ecom ads that I've compiled into a swipe file. It's not all the ecom ads in the world, but I include examples of different types of ones in there. So whenever I come across an ad of like, oh, that's like a different angle that they're using to show a product, it goes in there. So this is a very good resource. You can get it with this file will be shared at the end of this. So let's go over some main types of ad creatives in ecom. Ecom has one of the more varied types of creatives. Like if you're selling info or something on YouTube, there's really only a few different types of ads you're going to film. Ecom's a little bit different. There's a lot of different types. First main one is unboxing style videos. There we have to wait for this ad to play.
Mobile popped over this wireless battery bank.
Okay, so
Mobile popped over this wireless battery bank for an unboxing. Let's check this thing out and see what we got inside. This thing is solid. It's got nice grips on the side.
So you can watch the rest of this ad later once you get this pitch deck. But the basics of this is you're basically doing an unboxing video. These are really standard on the YouTube platform in general. People are going on YouTube to watch unboxing videos of products. So it doesn't even really register to them that this is like necessarily an ad. And I think that's one of the reasons why these work so well. These are one of the easiest types of ads to film right out of the gate. Like if you don't want to do anything fancier and you just have products that you want to sell and you have some on hand that you can film. And I'll show you what sort of filming equipment if you want to just film out of home or in a photography studio. But these are really easy to film and barely require like any sort of fancy scripting besides some basic structure. I'll show you here in a second. So unboxing video, in-field usage is another type. This is kind of similar to unboxing, but basically what you're going to be showing here is basically using the device in field. You'll see a lot of these. So let's say your device has a particular application in the real world. What you're going to do is start recording and showing you using the device in the real world, talking about it, talking about the benefits of it, and then doing a proper call to action at the end, which you can watch this video later. Third type, fake news story. These ones are very good. These are a little bit harder to get made, but you can get these made on Fiverr really easily. You can get these made on Fiverr, and they aren't too expensive to get made. You'll probably pay a couple $100s to get like a fake news story sort of thing going on. I have lots of students that use Fiverr for actors, but you can also use it for the fake news story angle. I actually don't know if this one's fake. This might be a real thing, or they just slapped this on it. I tried to look it up and see if these are like real newscasters. It's kind of hard to see. But this is a really popular ecom product. This is by it's an affiliate network. You can sell their products. I imagine multiple people are probably running and ripping this ad right now in this Giddy Up. Giddy Up is the network that has the fixed product. They have a couple other products that have YouTube videos as well. You should search fixed on VidTow and you'll see some of those. 4 is talking head style. These are a little bit harder to script. With talking head style videos, I'll just play this.
French fries and beer are vegan, so you tell me. But seriously, the easy part for most of my clients who go vegan or vegetarian is cutting out meat. What they forgot to include is the micronutrients.
Okay, so these are fairly, if you have a good script, these are fairly easy to get to convert. I'll show you some ads here in a second that are a little bit harder to get to convert. But if you have a good script, these are fairly easy to get to convert. There's a video on my channel if you want to check it out about scripting. I'm not trying to pitch my channel or anything. It's just easier to tell you guys about it than like explain like the A to Z of YouTube ad scripting. But with if you have a good script that has a strong intro, a strong hook, which is one of the main aspects of your YouTube ad, a YouTube ad like this, where you're doing talking head style, your script needs to have, it needs to call out your audience, either indirectly or directly. And he calls out his audience here by mentioning vegetarians, vegans, or the healthy or the healthy not. Basically, he's calling out people who are interested in dietary products, dietary programs. He has an interesting visual hook at the beginning, where he plays some of the stock footage. So you need to grab the attention. What happens in the middle of the ad is up in the air. There's a lot of different scripts you can use for like the bulk majority of the ad. And then you do final call to action at the end. But yeah, if you're doing talking head, you do need a strong script, but with a strong script, you can pretty easily get them to convert.
Yeah, and Isaac, I'm not sure if you're going to touch on this later in the presentation, but maybe just talk for a second about the real difference between like most people would be familiar with Facebook ads as an example and a YouTube ad. And from my understanding, like one of the biggest differences is that people are going to be forced to watch at least the first few seconds of your YouTube ad, right? So like as opposed to a Facebook ad, they can just scroll right past it and whatever, maybe they'll never even see it. So the scripting or the structure of that would be different, so that like you really got to hook people in because they're actually forced to watch the first bit of your video. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So on YouTube, I'm sure you guys have seen YouTube ads where it has that 5-second mark. You have to watch the first 5 seconds and then you're able to skip it. So you need to pay a lot of attention to what you're doing in the first 5 seconds of the ad. I see a lot, like some people come to me with like, they're trying to run e-com products on YouTube and they'll just take like a Facebook ad, you know, which is just some like reel of like footage of the product, and they'll slap some like stock music over it. That doesn't work. Because like, if you think about your own usage of YouTube as well, if you just saw an ad pop up where it shows this random piece of equipment with like stock music in the background, you're not gonna, as soon as the 5-second mark hits, you're gonna like click past that like immediately. Good ads on YouTube are gonna have a very strong hook in the beginning that calls out to their audience. Because here's the thing, getting people to skip is also an advantage to you. Because if you call out your ideal audience in the beginning, and there's different ways to do that. There's like the indirect way where he just did it, where he just generally talked about dietary stuff. But there's also the more direct way. You'll see this a lot in info, where they say like, hey, if you're a digital marketer, watch this ad, something like that. It's an advantage for you to call out your audience in the first 5 seconds, because when you get people who skip the ad, you don't get charged. You only get charged if they watch a certain percentage of your ad. So calling out the audience is advantageous to you in the beginning, and having a strong hook is also advantageous to you, because it keeps the people who are likely going to be converters around to watch the rest of the ad, so that you get charged and they get convinced to click through to your funnel. So in the beginning, very strong hook, call out your ideal audience, and then transition into whatever sort of scripting you're doing in the rest of the ad. Also, strong visual element doesn't hurt as well, to also help draw their attention at the very beginning. These ads, whiteboard ads can work. They're very hard to get to work. If you're doing a whiteboard ad, like, I'll play for like a couple seconds. So
True Dog, grain-free dog food, the greatest lie ever told. This is your puppy's great.
Okay, so you can already see they're coming in here with the right hook. Like, that's a strong intro. Like, grain-free dog, whatever they said, like the greatest lie ever told. Like, when you're running ads, like whiteboard style ads, you can't really just hire someone on Fiverr to make it and hope it's going to turn out good and, put some music on it. The voiceover has to be very good. You have to have a good like voiceover person. Robot like voice generally is not going to work. I think I've seen one ad where it's worked, but generally robot voice is not going to work. You have to have a very strong script on these style of ads. If you want to look at, there's a website, it's called like swiped.co. to make good ads like this, like these a little bit longer form whiteboard style ads, you want to look at like advertorials, like long form sales pages. These type of ads are just basically those turned into a YouTube video. If you imagine like these longer form sales type letters turned into a YouTube video, that's basically what these are. And that has to be the level that your copy has to be on to get these to perform. A lot of people think these are like
those are like 10-hour sales letters at the very minimum, right? Like not something you slap together in half an hour in a Google Doc. Yeah, exactly. Like some people think like these type of videos are low hanging fruit because they're easy to produce visually, which I mean, technically, yeah, just go pay a guy a couple $100s on Fiverr, you get it produced, whatever. To get these to convert is much harder. You have to be on point to get these to convert. So that's whiteboard. Long form VSL. This is very similar to the whiteboard style ad. Let me open one of these. These are perfect.
As a result, my nitric oxide levels improve. So starting off an 8.
Okay, so these type of ads, you'll see it's 30 minutes long. If you're doing any sort of like arthritis supplements or supplements targeted at older people for aches and pains, anything like that, I don't know why, but I guess older people have massive attention spans when it comes to YouTube ads. I personally haven't run any ads like this, so I can't speak from personal experience. But all of these ads are like 30 minutes long. They are a legit long form sales letter turned into a YouTube ad. But I do see a lot of these being run for like elderly like type supplements. So I'll play a few seconds of this so you can kind of get an idea of what it is.
Free body, a flatter belly, a healthier liver, and a sharper mind too. Nutritionists and fans also say it can brighten skin, lift spirits, and
okay, so this goes on for 30 minutes. It's kind of wild, but it converts. So it is what it is. But yeah, those are also like if you don't have an in-house copywriter who's able to produce things like this, don't even like look at ads like this right now. Stay with product demos, unboxing, talking head style, that you're going to get a lot more mileage out of those, and they're a lot easier to produce. This is another style. Usually you see this in info.
Today I'm going to show you
where you teach something in the ad.
How to make a superfood that'll last a lifetime without refrigeration. And
it's always 3 things in these ads. I personally run ads for this for myself, and they work very well. Where you teach 3 things in the ad, and at the end you have a call to action towards whatever product they're selling. I believe it's a book, like a survival book here. But these work very well, education style ads, and they're fairly easy to produce, especially if you know your product and you know your niche. But these are only going to be appropriate for some niches. Another difference with YouTube, and I'll mention this now. I was going to mention this later in the presentation, but now's a good point because this particular ad actually shows this. The last 10 to 15 seconds of your ad, you want to have a call to action like this. So the reason you want to have a call to action that stays on screen on YouTube ads is because when a YouTube ad is over, your call to actions become much smaller on the user screen. It's different where they appear on mobile and desktop. But after your ad ends, it becomes much harder for the user to click. So you want about 10 to 15 seconds at the end where you just have something like this on screen. I really like to use countdown timers here. Have a 10 or 15 second countdown timer, edit it on, throw some music on it. It's an easy boost in performance that you wouldn't get otherwise. Most people who convert are going to click through your ad a lot earlier than this, but before the end of the ad. But this does help pick up stragglers that decided to watch the entire ad, that were that interested in it. So throwing this on an end screen like this is an instant boost in performance from all the testing that we've done. Voiceover stock footage. Here's another good example. I see a lot of people try to run ads like this. This is another one that I see people like try to throw something together, like with music. The usual combo is stock footage, text on screen, stock audio, but like no voiceover. you have to have voiceover when you're doing e-com on YouTube. You can't just take ads from Facebook. On Facebook, you could use this with just music and it can perform. YouTube, you have to have some sort of voiceover. So here, I'll play it.
My best friend's teeth were disgustingly yellow until she did this. They were stained for over 10 years. Recently, she found this revolutionary new teeth whitening system.
So yeah, excellent voiceover, high quality stock footage. Their scripting is on point too. They come out with a very strong hook that if you have yellow teeth, you're probably gonna watch the rest of it. So let's jump into a couple other key elements. Okay, so we already discussed some of these, but number one, key elements of a YouTube ad, you must have an interesting hook. A lot needs to happen in that first 5 seconds to get your ideal buyer's attention. Number two, I highly recommend you having an outro card. It's an easy boost in performance. Number three, we've discussed this. Don't just throw up Facebook ads that you've used in the past. You have to tailor them to YouTube. And the way you're going to learn, again, what works on YouTube, go through that swipe file I provide, go through the different ads I've shown here, and you'll learn a lot from them. So
like the real theme that I'm seeing between everything here, Isaac, is scripting, like really good, essentially the skill of sales copywriting into the format of a video. Is that a good summary of what's been working here?
Yeah, exactly. The foundation of all of this is copywriting. I mean, unfortunately, everything always comes back to like copywriting in the internet marketing world. But like, yeah, having good YouTube ads. Again, it depends on what style of video you use. If you have a really interesting product that has really interesting visual properties, you can get away with more of an unboxing that has like not as strong scripting. But you'll see a lot of the ads that have like millions and millions of views tend to have fairly good copywriting. All of the ads that I've filmed and personally launched for stuff I'm doing myself, I sat down and scripted them. I really sat down for a couple hours and wrote some good scripts for them, and tested some different scripts as well, because you don't know what's going to connect with your audience. One tip I will give out for scripting. One thing that has worked really well for me is testing different hooks. So you can make the body and the ending of your ad the same, but film some different hooks, like film like 5 different hooks, and you can just have five different ads that way, where middle and ending are the same, but you just refilm the beginning. And that can allow you to test what your audience responds to, and also test some different ad variations very rapidly. It's kind of like it's kind of like changing the thumbnail on a Facebook ad to like get it some more longevity. That works very, very well. So as far as filming, you can hire Fiverr actors. That works very well. A lot of my students hate being on camera. Pretty much all of them actually hire Fiverr actors. I think I'm one of the few people that actually likes to film the videos myself, because I feel like I can control the energy of the video a little bit better. But Fiverr actors do perform on YouTube. You just have to have, make sure your script is there, and make sure you have the rest of the video being high quality. So number two, these are like tiered options. Like these are going to get progressively more expensive, but also progressively more high quality. You can film at home with your phone, but have a good lapel mic. That's like the lowest level of like an ad that can perform. Phone video, but using a lapel mic. If you use phone video with phone audio, it's not going to go too well. You can get away with like video, but if your audio is bad, it just will not perform. People will skip it so fast. So lapel mics, I have links on these to the stores. They're not affiliate links you don't make anything from, but any of the lapel mics from this place that say they're compatible with iPhone or Android or whatever you're using will work. And I personally use the ones linked there. So next level up. If you want to film at home with like get really high quality video and really high quality audio, Canon M50 camera, 50 millimeter lens, and those LED lights I have right there. Now, this is like This is probably like $700 worth of equipment, but it'll let you film products and videos whenever by yourself, and you can film really high quality stuff. I mean, your stuff with this equipment listed will look professional. The Canon 50mm lens is really good. I recommend it for this training because you can film talking head style videos like you saw in that supplement video. You can easily film a video like that, but it can also get really good up close, like product shots. I think they're called like macro shots in photography. I could be wrong on that. You can get really good like up close on products with the 50mm as well. So it's excellent for both of those applications.
Yeah, that's like the best bang for your buck lens out there. Like it has like a very similar photo quality to lenses that cost more than $1,000, but you're getting that thing for like under $100 in most places, which is yeah, best bang for your buck as far as photography lenses go.
Yeah, and you like all these besides the lighting, you can get on eBay, and lots of them still come with warranty on eBay, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, you can get them usually for like $100, knock off the regular price. So yeah, fairly cheap, and you can now film your products whenever and put really high quality stuff together. Option number 4. This is actually an option that not a lot of people are aware of, and I've used it several times before I purchased some actual filming equipment. And even now that I have filming equipment, sometimes I need moving shots, and my girlfriend's out at her job, so I can't have her film me. So it's like you can hire a videographer from Upwork for $25 an hour. Upwork is not just for like finding like remote freelancers. You can find a local videographer on Upwork for about $25 an hour. The max I would pay is like 30, 35. All in with a videographer, it usually costs you about $100 to $150. That includes filming and editing. The reason why it costs so cheap, most filming takes about an hour. As crazy as it sounds, even with longer scripts, filming takes about an hour. And editing an hour video takes about an hour as well. So you only pay, $50 to $150. You're never going to pay more than $150 if your videographer costs $25 an hour. This is really good if you don't want to do any of the above. You want all of the filming taken care of you. You just want somebody to show up and get your stuff filmed. And it's really good to have the same person film and edit, because then they know the material and they can edit very quickly. Couple things I like for the videographer to have: they must bring audio equipment. That means a lav mic. They must bring lighting, which could mean even just a single LED light. It depends on what they're looking for. And if you're doing talking head style video, you want a 2-camera setup. The reason you want a 2-camera setup for talking head style video is if you mess up on a script and you only have one camera, you either have to start at the beginning of that section of the script, or they're going to have to do some wacky thing in post editing to make it look good. If you have 2 cameras set up, when you mess up, they can just switch the camera angle, and you can start from the beginning of that sentence and just redo just that sentence. So it removes the need for you to have to get everything in one take. I used to film every script in one take, and it was an absolute nightmare. I would spend like 4 hours just like sweating getting this thing filmed, because you have the lights on you and everything. When you have a 2-camera setup, it goes off flawlessly. So make sure your videographer has those. I also apologize for the audio. I'm in a random Airbnb in Pittsburgh, which is like an odd scenario. But okay. Let's go over some different types of chart. Okay. So how much time do we have left, Dan? Do we have about like 30 minutes left?
Yeah. We still got about 30 minutes.
Cool. Solid. Okay. So targeting is the next thing I want to go over. This is like, if you have these 2 things in line, if you have your video, a good video, and you have targeting set up properly, you're going to find decent success with this. You may not crush it at first. You may have to dial some things in to get your ROI good. But yeah, if you have targeting in video, good video, you're going to get some results at first, and then from there it's just dialing in.
Yeah, and before we dive into that, I think a lot of people really obsess over targeting as like the most important thing, right? But like, I mean, so what's your opinion on, is it more important to focus on the targeting or more important to have just like a really good creative? Like if one had to suffer at the expense of the other, I know they're obviously both very important. You know, can you make a crappy video work with great targeting, or can you make a great video work with crappy targeting?
90% of YouTube results is your creative. It's all in your creative and your offer. That's like 90% of it. A good video with a good offer, even if you launch it to crappy targeting, it'll get some results. It'll get some results, even if you just have the worst targeting structure in the world. But a bad video launched to like the most dialed in targeting in the world, it's never going to perform. It'll never perform. So yeah, creative is much more important than targeting. You're definitely right on that. So first type of targeting for YouTube ads is keywords. These are search terms. They operate just like Google search. When somebody is searching these keywords, your ad will pop up once they click on a video. Now, most people think keywords just work like when somebody's searching a keyword on YouTube. That's not true. If somebody searches a keyword in Google and then they click on to YouTube, for whatever reason, your ad can show then. There's a little bit of a window there where if they click on to YouTube, they can see your video show up for a keyword. I'm going to open a campaign template so I can show you guys where you can find these. Do leads. I won't go over all the sayings, but do leads, do video, continue. We won't set any of these things for now. Go keywords. This is where you enter your keywords. I recommend for keywords, you do about 20 to 30 per campaign. Keywords are the only thing I'm going to recommend you do that many. The rest of these targetings, you're going to want to do way less of each. But keywords, do 20 to 30 and choose the highest volume keywords that you can find. I recommend using SpyFu as the tool to find your keywords. With SpyFu, it's technically Google search traffic, like the stats on it, but it's very reflective on YouTube. I use SpyFu, all my students use SpyFu. I highly recommend using SpyFu to build your keyword list. It's definitely, it has a lot of cool features where you can see the keywords used by competitors and different things like that, like what they're organically ranking for.
Well, and Google and YouTube keywords are the same in a lot of cases, right? Like you guys have all seen, you do a Google search and the top 5 results are all going to be YouTube videos, right? Exactly. Like it's very interlinked.
Yeah, exactly. Custom intent is like an upgraded version of keyword targeting. Custom intent is the user's search history. So instead of like they have to be searching it right then and there, custom intent is like their 30-day search history. So if they've searched a keyword in the last 30 days, then your ad can show up for them. This tends to be the most high intent traffic. All of this is testing. I can't tell you which one of these is going to work for you. I'll go over like the best targeting options for e-commerce here at the end. All of this you just have to test. It'll be random whether intent performs or keyword performs. You just have to see. But for me, a lot of the time, if you were to like gun to the head scenario, like what is the one thing you're going to launch? For me, it's custom intent. Custom intent performs a lot of the time and has a lot of applications. There's a lot of scale in it as well. To get to custom intent, you go to audiences and you go to browse, and we're going to go to custom audiences and then hit plus on the custom audience. Now, what you're going to see here, none of these options are called custom intent. They renamed it. It's called people who searched for any of these terms on Google. I will never refer to it as that. It's always going to be custom intent in my mind.
That's much too long to be saying and presentations
it's
and
not
conversations all the time.
10 words versus 2 words. Like, no, thank you, Google. I'm not going to say that every time. But generally, if you want highly scalable custom intent audiences, you want around 50 to 100 keywords in here. Google's going to tell you like 100 minimum. That's not true. You can get away with 5 keywords in here. But if you want super scalable audiences, 50 to 100 is a good starting place. If you notice that your 50 to 100 are scaling and they just seem to have tons and tons of room for your product, you can start doing like smaller custom intent, like 25, 15, maybe even 10. But start off big with these. Start off 50 to 100 is a general rule. Custom affinity is the next one we're going to go over. This is also built from your keyword list. So just like custom intent, you're going to take your keyword list and you're going to turn it into a custom affinity audience. This is most similar to how interest targeting works on Facebook. It's looking at their user behavior from like a 30,000 foot view, like what type of sites they've interacted with, what sort of content they've interacted with, and it's going to choose to show them your ads based upon this. This is found right above custom intent. Again, they renamed it. Don't refer to it as this. It's custom affinity. With this, it's a much larger projection from your keywords. These, you can use 1 keyword, you can use 5 keywords, you can use 10 keywords. There isn't much reason to go much beyond that. When you go much beyond that, you broaden your audience and you make it more scalable. So if that sounds good for your product, and if you have a product that is like not very niche at all, like anybody can buy it, then go ahead. You can make these audiences bigger. I generally sit in the 5 to 10 keyword spot for myself for custom affinity. These are very good, a little bit less high intent compared to custom intent, but they're a lot more scalable because they're a lot broader reach. Built-in audiences. These are very useful. Definitely needs to be in your first round of testing when you're launching campaigns. Where you find these is they're under audiences, but instead of going to down here to custom, you're going to look at in market audiences, and here's a ton. These are very similar to Facebook interest targeting, essentially. There's a lot of options here. I recommend looking through all of them. So you have in market, which is one type of these audiences. You have life events. Wait, let me minimize this. You have life events, which is the other type. These are a lot more broad than maybe some of the in market are. And then there's also affinity down here. The difference between these 3 is negligible. In my mind, I group these as built-in audiences. They're audiences pre-made by Google for you to look through and target your campaigns based off of. With these, they're pretty broad and they're pretty scalable and they're fairly accurate. And by accurate, I mean like if you have a product that's for sports and fitness and you target some of the stuff in here, usually Google is pretty good at accurately categorizing these, and it's reflected in the performance. If you have a product for weightlifters and you to show it's weightlifters, it's probably going to perform. That being said, there is some crossover with these. Like if you have a product for weightlifters, I would probably, let me see what else is available in this specific one. I'd probably do fight. I guess these are like fans. You don't want that. Yoga lovers might be another option because there's a lot of women who lift weights and do yoga, and men as well. I do yoga. Yoga is not specific to women. Feel free to do yoga if you're a man as well. But there is crossover between these audiences. So I always tell people when you're doing these, think of yours first. So if your thing is very specific to weightlifters, definitely include the weightlifter audience, but also include a few audiences that are on the periphery of that as well. Google's not perfect. It
And would you
categorizes.
say that these audiences are more accurate than Facebook interest audiences? Like in my mind, I'm thinking that Google has much better data, right? It's all intent based.
Yeah.
People searching for something on YouTube or typing something into Google, that intent is probably so much more accurate than any data points that Facebook is looking at, where people are like scrolling something or liking or commenting something. Doesn't necessarily have the same level of intent. What do you think?
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it as well. And it's in my experience, it's reflected in the performance as well. On YouTube, on Facebook, I have to launch a lot more audiences to find winners, or interest to find winners. On YouTube, I find winners a lot more easily. So in my mind, they're probably a lot more accurate for sure. Topics. So these are very similar to audiences. These actually work very well specific to ecom. I have a lot of people who have helped that have tested these in ecom, and they've told me they worked very well for them. They don't work as well on some other applications, but for this use case, definitely test these. Basically, what these are is Google categorizes all of its content into different groups. Now, its content is things on the GDN network, things on the YouTube network, and all the different, there's a lot of different things on the periphery of those that Google can categorize that content. Basically, people who engage with different types of content across the Google network get categorized into different groups, and these are targetable groups on YouTube ads. Where you find these is right here. These are topics. You can't custom anything here. These aren't like custom intent, custom affinity. You can't enter keywords here. These are all built in, and you just have to look through them and see what applies. So those are topics. App audiences. These are new on Google, but they have worked very well in my experience, especially if you have something that is kind of niche and you're having trouble thinking of what targeting to use. So go to tools and settings and go to audience manager and go to custom audiences and then hit the plus symbol. And what you'll see is down here is people who use certain types of apps. And I'm going to delete this first one just so we have better visual. You can type in stuff like high level. There's like the high level CRM. It's every app that's available on the Google Play Store. You can target. It's basically a lookalike. The way I look at this is like a 1% lookalike of the app. So it's looking at the users who use certain types of apps, and it's building you 1% lookalikes off of those. If you sell beauty products, you can target some of the most downloaded beauty products from the Google Play Store. And these are very powerful, and I use these frequently. Generally, when I'm building an audience like this, I will only do like one app per audience, just to keep things sort of granular and so I know what's performing. You can technically add like 10 apps here, but I tend to find the audiences they create are a little bit broad, so I don't want to add too many. So I generally just do one app per audience I create here. Sometimes you won't be able to find an app that you want, in which case you have to search the LLC behind the app. So you have to find the LLC behind who created it, and you have to search that, because sometimes they're not listed as the name that they are on the Play Store, which can make finding them a little bit of a challenge. So make sure you always search for the LLC if you can't find something. URL audiences. So if you remember back to custom affinity, where we supply Google with some keywords and it basically gives us a 30,000 foot view of people who have searched types of keywords like that and finds us similar people. URL audiences are very similar. What we're going to do is we're going to do people who browse certain types of websites, and we're going to close this app one. And basically you're going to add in URLs here of competitors' products or your product if you have a ton of organic traffic to the site's page. And basically it's going to look at the websites that you provided and give a projection of people who are similar to people who have interacted with types of content like your site or competitor sites. So this is a very valuable targeting. Like affinity, it's pretty broad and creates pretty big audiences. So there's a lot of room to scale. Recently visited, this is another type. People who visited certain places. The application for this is kind of narrow and they don't have a ton of options available for the different types of places visited. But if you're creative and something works here for your niche, you can definitely test these because there probably will be some applications for this. I have used it before, but I've only really used it in like some narrow B2B niches where it was actually viable. Placement targeting. This is where you place ads on specific channels and specific videos. This is the one that everybody talks about all the time that is trash. It basically doesn't work. You can test it and sometimes it'll work for you. I've seen it work in some niches, I've seen it work, but it's very random. It is completely random whether or not this works. And even if it does work, it's not scalable whatsoever. It's not, I've never seen somebody scale a YouTube campaign strictly off of placements. I'm open to being proven wrong. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's just like rocking some placements campaign right now, but me or anybody who I've ever helped scale YouTube campaigns has not done so using placements. They're not very useful whatsoever. So which of these are most useful for e-com? That was all the targetings. Which of these are most useful for e-com? Keywords are very useful. They're very targeted. They're a little bit less scalable than some of the other options here, depending on what keyword. If you use more broad keywords, like if you have a beauty product and you just type in like beauty and lipstick as keywords, those broad ones, if you can get them to perform, tend to be more scalable and have more room to scale. Custom affinity work very well. Custom intent work very well. The built-in audiences and built-in topics are very good and usually make up the core of your targeting when you're launching ads like this. But also open targeting tends to work very well. If you have a product that has a product or service or whatever you're advertising that can apply to a lot of people, definitely launch one that's just open targeting all of the United States and see how it does. Some people say you need to wait till like 50 or 100 conversions for this. I'm sure that makes it a little bit more reliable, but I personally like to launch out of the gate. Enough times it performs out of the gate for me to consistently launch it. So I highly recommend launching open. Open will get better with time. If you launch open at first, like if open makes sense for your product and you launch it and it doesn't work for whatever reason, like it is just not really within KPI, you have to throw it out. After you get some conversions, I recommend going back and testing open. A lot of the times, if open doesn't work at first, it will work in the future after you feed some of that conversion data back into Google. As far as campaign structure goes, you want to use a max of 3 targetings per campaign, minus keywords. Keywords are kind of their own thing. You can use 20 to 30. But the rest of these, you only want to use 3 types of targeting per campaign, whether that's 3 audiences, 3 topics, 3 custom affinity, 3 custom intent. But you don't want to mix keywords, topics, or audiences. They each deserve their own campaigns. If you mix those, like let's say you have a campaign that has 2 audiences and 1 topic. What that tells YouTube is to layer them. A lot of people don't know this. They'll throw in a bunch of targetings into a campaign. If you mix different types of targeting on YouTube, it layers them. So it says they must match those audiences and they must match these topics as well, which is useful in some scenarios. It's useful if you can't get anything performing and you really want to just try to narrow down your audience and hopefully get some performers. But usually your creative is going to be the issue if you get to a spot that desperate. It's useful if you're in like B2B niches and you're trying to do some super narrow targeting. But for anything broad, for most things, the e-com, you're never going to layer. You're never going to layer. Keep your audiences with your audiences, keep your topics with your topics, and keep your keywords with your keywords. Do 3 per campaign. If you go more than 3, it'll spread your budget too thin. If you throw in like 20 audiences into a campaign, which is something else I see a lot when I'm reviewing accounts, you're gonna have YouTube is gonna choose two or one of them to put all the budget into, and it won't test any of the rest of them. So max 3 targetings per campaign. There are 2 types of conversions you want to use: maximize or target CPA. With target CPA, that's YouTube's version of manual bidding. We only have like 5 minutes left here, so I'm trying to show you guys this really quick. But you can see them: campaign, leads, video. Right here, maximize conversions. That's like the auto bid strategy. Target CPA is right here. If you're doing target CPA, start your bid off at 2 times your ideal conversion cost. You can always lower it to choke down what you're paying per conversion, but start it at 2x. If you're doing maximize, which is another strategy you can use, you can start with either of these. There's a place for both, and they both can perform. Maximize is a good place to start, but you're not really going to be able to scale to thousands of dollars per day with maximize. It just doesn't hold. It'll go out of KPI once you get into the higher ad spend. So you can start off with maximize and eventually move to target CPA, or just start off with target CPA at 2x bid. But yeah, you can change those there. I recommend optimizing your campaigns for both add to cart and purchases, or, depending on whatever you're doing. Basically, you want to optimize for an early stage conversion plus whatever your final conversion is. The way you do that is you go into conversions, and whatever conversions you make, and you can YouTube how to set up conversions here, but check including conversions on all of the conversions that you want to actually count. So if you want add to cart to be optimized for, and you want purchases to be optimized for, put yes on both of those in the including conversions. That's how you optimize for 2 conversion events on YouTube. It's very powerful and it works really, really well. And I recommend starting off with that. Later on, you can test optimizing for just purchases, but early on, you always want to feed some of those earlier stage conversions back into YouTube so that it can optimize. But yeah, that's the end of my presentation there. Hopefully we covered some ground. I don't know if Danny wants to do Q&A or if we just end this thing. That's up to him.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I got to hop on another call here in a couple minutes. But before we hop off here, tell people where they can reach you if they wanted to reach out to you to learn more about what you do. I know you have like a YouTube course. You also have a YouTube channel and some other things, right?
Yeah, I'll drop some links in chat really quick. I'll link you guys to my real active Facebook profile because there's probably like 5 of them if you search.
Just because you're running so many ads, you have all these different profiles?
Oh, they're all of my old band accounts that I, for one reason or another, can't get into now. So that's that scenario. But that's my account. This is my YouTube channel. If you want to go there, there's a lot of like free tutorials on there. There's my Facebook group. We do live every Wednesday in there. If you guys have any questions about YouTube stuff, I'll link that here. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could provide you guys some value here. I know there's a lot more we could cover, but with time limitations and all that.
Oh, that was great, man. Yeah, I think people are going to be picking that one apart for a while. And guys, if you're inside of the Facebook group, the Amazon FBA Value Library Facebook group, just drop drop comments in the post about this presentation in the Facebook group, and we'll make sure Isaac's in there too. You guys can interact and ask more follow-up questions if you guys have any of that, because there's a lot to learn about YouTube ads. It's a whole beast together. But I mean, I love what you're saying about the creative and really just like dialing in the actual structure and the copywriting of your ad creative, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, is just they obsess over all the other details. I think it's all about the targeting and just getting something in front of those people. But really it's the creative and like the hook and the, you know, curiosity to like all those copywriting elements that really draw people in.
Yeah, we're all copywriters in disguise at the end of the day. No matter what marketing you're doing, you're pretty much a copywriter. You have to be. So yeah, that's the foundation of it for sure.
All right, perfect. All right, well, I gotta hop on another call here, but we just one quick question before we hop off here from Q. What's a good video length to start with?
Generally, most of my ads come out to like 1:30 or like 2:30. You'll see with like those longer VSL ones, there's like 30 minutes. I really don't do anything like that. My general rule is follow like a good script. And I'll help you out guys out with some scripts in the group and talk about scripting a little bit more, maybe in the comment section. But follow a good script, get the points you have to say across, and whatever the ad comes out to, the ad comes out to. Basically is my rule, but generally that's going to be between like 1:30 and 2:30 for like most videos.
Perfect. Well, awesome, Isaac. This has been really valuable here. People are loving this stuff. And yeah, like I said, guys, we'll put the links that he mentioned and everything, and also any follow-up questions you guys have in the Amazon FBA Value Library Facebook group. And thanks so much for your time, Isaac. That was great.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. It was great. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Take care, guys.